So here we are, we're starting Halloween, the whole month of Halloween, because October is Halloween month. And I've wanted to talk about a few things for a while, including The Crow, so I'm going to talk about The Crow. But not just me. I'm inviting someone else who is a reformed goth, I suppose, because we have to exist in society. Once again, joining me to talk nonsense about a film, here is James Earnshaw of Olive Studios. How you doing, James?
Hi, not too bad. You?
Good. Yeah, I'm alive.
Yeah, but
Every night I burn, it's terrible.
Yeah. Us dead souls.
Yeah. But this was a film that I think formed my goth side. It was quite transformative, and like a lot of people of my age and thereabouts, I did adopt the look for a period.
Yeah.
When I was thin, it worked. That's what you know. But briefly, to talk about, obviously, the film, we want to talk about the usual things. This was directed by Alex Proyas, written by David J. Shaw, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and John Shirley, obviously based on the comics by James O'Barr. It stars, of course, Brandon Lee, Rochelle Davis, Ernie Hudson, Michael Wincott, Bai Ling, and Michael Massey, who we'll talk about much later. But yes, like I say, a very formative film for me, and from the things that I can see, I think for you too, the way you were nodding.
Yeah. I mean, originally, apparently, it was going to be called Murder. There was going to be multiple resurrections, but then they decided just to go with one, so it became The Crow.
Although I suppose now the film series is...
It is now a murder. Yeah, no, I was joking.
Yeah, and with
Bad
the last
joke.
2 or 3,
Yeah.
I would say that, yes, it is definitely a murder.
They definitely started to murder it, didn't they? So, yes. Dear.
No, I am not as familiar with the original source material, but you are.
Okay. Yeah.
First, I think that what I tend to talk about on this channel is film, so we'll discuss that first.
Yeah,
then
no
we'll
problem.
into comic where you can have a moment to shine.
Oh, okay.
But there's a lot here that I forgot about. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I also forgot that Alex Proyas also did Dark City. And
Yes.
you can tell.
Oh, yes.
Very stylistically.
Great film as well. Another great film.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
But no, like rewatching it, there was a lot of stuff that I was like, oh, this happens.
Yeah.
And I forgot Tony Todd was in it. How did I forget Tony Todd's in it?
Great
I mean,
actor.
Grange isn't the normal character of the type he plays.
He's not even in the comic book, but yeah, he's not his normal character for Tony Todd. He doesn't even use the voice, does he?
No, he's quite sort of high range for him, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, mid range to other people, but high for him.
The voice.
But that's the thing, like things like Candyman, we've gotten used to a very specific, this kind of very commanding, deep tone, kind of like James Earl Jones. Hearing him not do a Darth Vader voice sounds wrong.
It is, yes, I know what you're saying. Watching Coming to America, yeah.
But also, apparently, Rochelle Davis was terrified of Tony Todd.
Really?
Because she had seen Candyman, and that's what caused it. But she did become friends with him alongside other members of the cast after.
Well, apparently he's a lovely bloke, so I'm not really surprised.
But also, Michael Massey apparently pulled mean faces at her, bless. Oh. But like I say, she was friends with a lot of these people afterwards, and we'll talk more about why she isn't as known as she could have been again later on. Okay. But yeah, this film, like I say, it starts, I think, quite well. I think it opens up, gives us the feel from the get-go.
There's the good little narration from Sarah, isn't there? It's about when someone dies, a crow carries its soul to the land of the dead, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's a nice little narration with that scene of burning city kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, from get-go, from literally the first second, you've got the vibe of this film.
Yeah, that's it. It sets up what you can expect stylistically, thematically, and narratively, obviously, as well. Mm. And I love the fact that it sets the tone and keeps the tone. There are films that start one way and go another, and a lot of them probably are part of this film franchise.
I mean, yeah, well, that's true. But I mean, even the music at the start, the kind of it's got almost a tribal vibe to the drums underneath it. It gives you a whole vibe. I mean, I'll touch on that later on and how that became too big a theme, in my opinion. But yeah.
Okay.
So we've started off with Sarah talking about the crow, and you've got the drums going, and then you get to the house, don't you? The building.
Yeah, where Top Dollar is trying to basically evict everyone, and his goons find out and are sent in basically to stop that.
Yeah.
Because it was Shelley and Eric Shelley particularly, who was doing the petition against that.
To prevent it, yeah. So...
And they suffer a very terrible fate.
Yes.
And I believe, I know we said we'll talk more about the comic afterwards, but I believe something I read, the person who suffered was swapped over. I believe it was Eric originally. Is that correct?
The one that survived and suffered, yes, it was Eric originally, yes.
Yeah. Obviously, yes, she suffered other things that didn't happen to Eric, obviously, yes.
Well,
but,
yes.
The one who was basically operated on for as long as possible in hospital.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, definitely.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
But but it was obviously, swapped over, I think, to allow a moment of him getting that information from Albrecht later.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Rather than showing it with him at the start, and I do like the fact that we get that moment, but a lot of the more in-depth stuff, because that happens quite quickly. A lot of the more in-depth stuff that comes through flashbacks, and it's us kind of getting that mindset of where Eric is.
It's a beautifully done thing in this film. I think this is again with the comic book. The comic book is mostly drawn in black and white, and it's harsh ink. And when you look at the scenes in the film that are done that way, they're all bleached and there's hardly any colour, and then they've taken the colour out. So you've got that vibe, and then the flashbacks are vibrant as hell, and they're over-colourised and everything else. So you know the difference. I think that's beautifully done. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And like I say, it helps us to, over time, get an understanding of where Eric is, what his mindset is, how he's dealing or not dealing, as the case may be.
Well, yeah.
With this return to life. Although, on the subject of revenants, Gabriel, I don't think, could have survived. I think Gabriel also a revenant.
Quite possible, yes.
Surviving a year and the fur looking that nice in that kind of place, I don't believe it.
It's a film. It's a film.
Yeah, well, I mean, a guy comes back from the dead because of a crow. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't suppose we're going to pour buckets of goo on a cat who would lick it off in minutes.
Yeah, no, let's not. Yeah, let's not do that.
So,
I mean, there's a chance. There is a chance, but I just think it's a cat.
Yeah.
And cats survive, don't they? So, anyway, yeah.
It was just one of those moments where I went, how did that cat survive like that? This is the kind of thing I do.
Fair enough.
But no, so obviously, yeah, we bring him back to life after that a year later, and he's kind of unsure of what's going on. He's basically come back from the dead. He doesn't know anything, and it's slowly, like before, coming back into his mind. And of course, we get the wonderfully, annoyingly cut down version of Burn.
Yes, I agree.
So hearing the full version now that it felt like I'm jumping so many times during the song, and it wasn't cut that well either.
Well,
it didn't flow.
I mean, that's later on, isn't it? That's when he's actually got back to the apartment. I mean, there's a lot that happens between there and there, but yes, it annoys me that they cut Burn down so much, because it is, I have to say, it's my favourite Cure song.
It's definitely up there, although apparently in concerts they've been asked to do it a number of times, and it took a while. And at one point they were like, "Is this something we did for a soundtrack?" I don't know if that was Robert Smith being a bit silly or something, but I wouldn't put it past him. But
well, it did open a lot of doors for them in a way, even though they were huge already. The amount of people that found The Cure because of the soundtrack to the film The Crow. I mean, we'll touch on the soundtrack properly later, but the song soundtrack was iconic at its time.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, both the source, as it's called, like the actual songs, and the score were so well done. Like, they again, thematically all work together.
I mean, Graham Revell did such a good job of the music for score for this film.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
I noticed something I've never seen before. When Sarah goes to the grave, there is the same tune of like the first lead bit of Inferno. It is part of like the theme that I've never clicked the two before.
Oh, okay.
You can hear that
Yeah.
You hear that sort of, I think it's some kind of string, I can't remember exactly, but you hear it in this grave, and I was like, wait a minute. And I brought up Inferno on a separate window, I was like, yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
It's such a, again, that thing of marrying all the parts of the film together. And it's something that we don't see enough, I think, now, which is why I love this film still.
Yeah.
And we will talk about remakes and stuff later.
Don't. But, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah. But of course, so there is all that setup of Sarah and stuff like that before he comes back. I do tend to do that, don't I? Skip ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's some missing footage there as well, isn't there? Because when he comes out of the grave, for a start, there's the Skull Cowboy that never got put in, which Michael Berryman should have played. And he was. I think he's basically another Crow, another Eric Draven that's been around for a long time, kind of thing. And he comes to warn him, you'll end up like me if you mess about instead of getting the job done. Basically, you got 2 days to get revenge, and then you're done. That's it.
Which I can see the film benefiting from, but I don't think it necessarily suffered from, because he still managed to complete his goal. And
agreed.
I mean, would that have been possibly why, or part of why he was weak, and not just obviously Micah taking the Crow, but approaching his time as well, it would have been a double edge kind of thing for him.
Quite probably, yeah.
But it's simple enough that we can kind of go, well, the Crow's been taken by Micah, so who never gets named in the film. I had to look that up.
No, I know.
And she doesn't appear in the comics either, I believe. So
no, she doesn't.
It's one of those things
not that
where
I know of.
You may deal with characters not telling us who they are.
Yeah.
That's one of the bad things I think that happens here. The filmmaking's a bit wonky in some areas, but
to be honest, I've never missed knowing who they are.
Yeah, I just go, it's Bai Ling. That's it.
It's that Asian woman that likes eyes and the pretty lights.
Although apparently Brandon wasn't happy with that. Didn't like the idea of this Asian character being like a mystical, I'm going to steal your power thing.
Well, it is a bit on the nose, isn't it? Yes. It's a little bit,
there's a lot of problems with that. But I think it was her first breakout American role. So I'm happy, because it meant she was in stuff like Angel, where I got more knowledge of her and stuff. So
yeah, fair enough.
She does have that unusual quality to her. I do like her as an actress.
And too much lipstick.
Too much lipstick, but I think there's a lot of over-the-top costuming and stuff in this film.
Yeah. So.
And it works because of it. So
yeah, we've got the crossover going on at this point, haven't we? Whilst he's waking up, we've got the arcade being set up for explosion, for being blown up. The gang.
Yes.
So they're kind of doing a really nice juxtaposition where you've got Eric Draven climbing out of the grave, and they're torching a building at the same time. I really like that, the feel of that. I mean, there's bonus footage there missing again. There's a girl who ran the place they tied to a chair and put the bomb on her, kind of thing.
And it's a bit too extreme.
Yeah, I mean, when after the explosion happens in the extended stuff, Eric's already there. He's already at the arcade kind of thing. It explodes and he gets thrown off his feet, and then she comes running out and he tries to help her, but and he sees through her eyes. He sees the gang doing what they did, but she dies ultimately in Albrecht's arms later on.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so all that's missing from the. I mean, I can understand why it's missing, because darkness, much, it's a really horrible way to start a film. Let's torch somebody. Yeah. I
mean, we'd already seen, obviously, a more cut down version, and we'd see more of it later. The attack on Shelley and Eric, but.
Well,
having this extra thing on top of it, just really hammering home. We know these guys are sadistic. We don't need it beating over our heads. And we can enjoy them being, I suppose, given their comeuppance without that extra information.
I agree.
Although I do like the idea of her dying in Albrecht's arm, because again, it's a mirror of Shelley to a
It
degree,
is, yeah.
and everything like this. It's a mirror of this thing that happened a year ago, and I think it makes him. He's already very sympathetic, but it just gives that extra edge. And on the topic of Albrecht, I do have to say, Ernie Hudson, I think, is great casting for it.
Perfect. I loved him as Albrecht. I mean, if you, it's a comic comparison thing. He's a completely different character in the comics, to be honest. I really liked him.
With a police captain or something.
Something like that. There is a cross. There's something going on there, but yeah, I really like Ernie Hudson in this. It's just one of his best roles, in my opinion. I think he was better in this than he was in Ghostbusters. But
because he's got a firmness to him, but also a softness. You can believe this character.
He's very believable.
Both elements.
Yeah.
So well, and let me open the floor to you to tell your Ernie Hudson story, because I think the world needs to hear this.
Yeah, I met him at a Comic-Con a couple of years back, and he was really nice. And when he was doing a Q&A, I asked the question, do you still put the mustard under your hot dog? And he said, and I think the dual entendre of that made everyone chuckle. But yes, he does. He still puts the mustard on before he puts the hot dog in the bun. And it's because of that film. He said he'd never done it before, and those hot dogs were really nice, and ever since then he's done that. So mustard underneath your hot dog.
So much that when you told that to me, however many years ago, I tried it and was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this works.
Makes a big difference, and it does to me. I ever since I saw this film and I tried it myself, that's how I have to do it now. If I ever have a hot dog made somewhere, I don't have onions because they make you fart big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
so it's perfect.
This
film has definitely helped you.
It has. It's been. I mean, I have to say, I was the goth in the 90s, and this film was probably one of the things that spurred that on a little. And I did buy the double-breasted leather trench coat, a la Tintin, kind of thing, and I had that, and I wore the leather trousers and the army boots and the whole shebang, I mean, yeah, it did form a lot of my goth youth.
Like young males, of a certain age, who were into that kind of thing anyway, even slightly. Anyone who had even the slightest goth mindset that just needed something to allow it to bloom, if you will. That's a very flowery speech, isn't it? No,
but it's true. I agree. I mean,
it really gave that door the big kick and go on, let your inner goth out.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll tell another quick story. I had a friend called Matt, and I went round to his house on Halloween. It was actually Halloween night. We were going to go out to a club, and I can't remember which club it was, but it was probably Chico's in Hanley. And he had the hair perfect, the Brandon Lee hair.
Yeah.
And so we did his makeup, got some black gaffer tape, wrapped it round his top, and turned him into Eric Draven, and it was a very convincing version. And then we went trick-or-treating on our way out, and we got given lots of cider.
Very nice.
But no, he genuinely looked like the Crow. He looked like Eric Draven. It was quite scary. But that's what we are talking 97, 98, something like that, way back when.
Yeah. I probably started a little later with it, and my hair down is so flyaway, I had to have like a bunch of straightening stuff and sort of gel and stuff to keep it. But I have done it in the past, and full corpse paint and everything. It's like I say, it's just something that, like we said throughout, this was so important, I guess, in some ways, so formative that paying tribute is the best way, I think, to recognise that.
I think it attracted those with trauma, didn't it?
Yeah, let's not dwell on that.
No, but I mean, pretty much everyone I know that loved this film had trauma in their lives, and all the people that have never heard of it have all had quite easy lives comparatively. So yeah, I think it did attract those with trauma to an extent, which is the whole goth thing anyway, isn't it? So.
Well, yeah, and I suppose this was empowering in the fact that you don't have to be defined by your trauma. I mean, arguably he kind of is, but he still, once he dealt with his trauma, he could move on, literally.
It's true, yeah.
And, I mean, thematically, that's just beautiful.
It is, isn't it?
Deal with trauma, and you can actually have a good life. You can, or afterlife in his case, but you can get what you want. You can go and reach your goals and everything like that.
From a psychological standpoint, yeah, brilliant, absolutely amazing. But yeah, not so easy to actually achieve.
I mean, like any trauma, the work to get over it does require going out of an evening, killing a black guy, setting fire to the floor. You know, you've got to deal with the trauma, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't got lighter fluid with you to make crow symbols on the floor and burn them, you know, what are you going to do?
So now I realise someone will snip it. Me saying, black man.
Yeah, they probably will. You're in trouble. No, don't go out and do what. We are not justifying the behaviour in this movie in any way, shape, or form.
No, we're saying that it's a beautiful metaphor for dealing with trauma. There we go.
That's exactly what it is.
Disclaimer done.
We've got to the point where they've blown up the arcade building, and Eric has now got back to his apartment, hasn't he? And he's done the makeup, which unfortunately wasn't him, because Brandon had died at this point. And it cost them a fortune to put his face into that broken mirror.
There's so much done here with the assistants of stunt people, and there was a mask they used for a period, but it just looked terrible.
Yeah.
So CGI was actually the more cost-effective and ideal way to actually do it.
I mean, as they zoom out from the window, or zoom in from the window, you got that shot with Eric with the crow on his shoulder, and it's the first time you see him in makeup. That's not even him either. That's his body double, and they've superimposed his face on.
I believe that was Chad Stahelski, who's most known now for being Keanu Reeves' stunt double and directing some of the John Wicks, if not all of them. And he also played Trinity's husband in the newest Matrix as well.
Credit to them. When I watched it, I didn't notice anything wrong there.
No.
And it's only after finding that out that I've looked at it and gone, oh, okay, yes, you can tell now. But if I hadn't known, I wouldn't have known. Wouldn't have made any difference. So,
I mean, obviously now the technology's there that you can do so much. When I was watching A Quiet Place Part 2, I said one of the most unobtrusive and what most people won't even realise are CGI shots are when they're walking past windows that would reflect a cameraman and you cannot see a cameraman.
Yeah.
Don't even think that it's a CGI shot, but it is, and it has to be. And this film, unfortunately, through a tragic circumstance, I think laid a lot of the groundwork for how good CGI replacement and stuff can be now.
Yeah,
because they had to really go for it and make it as good as it could be.
It's a shame that yes, we've got great CGI nowadays, but I mean, explain She-Hulk, please explain She-Hulk.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say that it's a TV budget, but it's still Marvel.
It's still Marvel and Disney.
Marvel is like film budget for most people.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not getting onto that one. Now we know he's back and he's got the makeup because of the mask, which is why the makeup appeared.
Although, actually, I also noticed the blood when he's pushed out the window. It's similar kind of patterning. It's not quite exact, but there's like the trails down here, and it's kind of around the eyes in a similar way. And I think that was an intentional thing. I'll probably have it in front of the screen now for everyone who's not us, but yeah.
I think they touched on that a bit too much in the third film, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's one of the things about, I mean, we shouldn't really be talking much about the sequels, but I think they took the wrong elements from this film and expanded on them to make the sequels rather than going back to source material. Burn finishes and Dead Souls comes on as he runs across the rooftops.
Yeah.
Which I have to mention this, Dead Souls being a Joy Division song covered by Nine Inch Nails.
You get more industrial goth than that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It is the epitome of industrial goth. And if you read the comics, there's lots of Joy Division in there, a hell of a lot of Joy Division mentions in there. So for this song to be in the film, done in the way it was done as well, was perfect, absolutely perfect. And I didn't even know it was Nine Inch Nails the first time I heard it. I just listened to it going, what is this? This is gorgeous. I love this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this is Nine Inch Nails doing Dead Souls by Joy Division. So one of the most iconic moments in the film as well, with him running across the rooftops. When you think back to The Crow, you think that's one of the scenes that I remember in my head, with lots of animation put in as well.
Yeah.
Which was well done.
Yeah.
It's so well put together, and he's hunting Tintin, isn't he?
Yeah. because is there a specific reason to the order, or is it just
who he came across? They're trying to allude to the fact the crow, he can see through the crow's eyes, and the crow's found Tintin.
That's it. It's like his scout.
Yeah,
you could say, and he's gone right. There's one of the guys. We're nearby. Let's do it, kind of thing. Yeah,
pretty much. I think that's it. I think it's just accidental. In the comic book, they don't really do that at all. It's very much he's going looking for this person. So maybe he was looking for Tintin, and maybe the whole point was to scour the city for Tintin, and that's why he's running across the rooftops, and the crow found him. So
it's almost kind of like he did have a purpose, but the crow was there just as a tool, I guess, to help him.
Yeah. So
which is fine. Again,
and
you can make whatever work.
We get the fun bit of him throwing himself off a rooftop with the laughter and everything. I really like that scene.
Yeah.
He laughs on his way to the ground.
It's like, no, this won't kill me, can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, what worries me is how did he know that?
Yeah. Well, actually, he saw, because when he was first in the apartment, he saw his hand healing, so maybe it was an educated guess.
Okay, an over-assumption. So yeah, he falls off the building, he goes after Tintin, and then we have a completely epic fight.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to remember, there's a dive that Brandon Lee does twice in the film. And I think it's with Tintin, he does this dive with his arms, and he goes, whoa, like that kind of thing. And you see it as he dives in, and it just looks so cool on screen. And then I think he does it again in the loft a bit later on. I think he does, in the loft, he does it to do a tumble. But in this, he actually dives on Tintin with his fingers spread in such a way. And it's a really, I think the word's visceral image to see as he does it. It's, ooh, yeah.
My mind kind of like, I suppose, like the talons out idea. Maybe that's it. It's like bringing in the crow idea. He is like a bird of prey swooping in.
And then you have the actual fight scene.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And the here's some nice for you, my friend, kind of idea.
Try harder. Try again. Try harder. Is it, or is it the other way around? Try harder. Try again. Yeah. This is try harder. Try again. Victims, aren't we all? Stab.
Yeah, that was so many good one-liners in this.
So good line. And the way it's said as well. I mean, this is why Brandon was kind of perfect in the role.
Yeah.
He said the one-liners with such atmosphere. Oh.
I mean, I think nowadays people would go, oh yeah, make it like a fun one-liner. They'd overblow the...
They might do.
Of it.
No.
But the quiet menace behind it is what sells it.
That's it.
He's kind of saying, this is the kind of things you say to people that you attack. How does it feel to have it flipped on you? Because that's what this is. These people did these things. How are they going to like it if I do it?
Yeah. Victims, aren't we all? Stab.
Yeah.
So,
James O'Barr apparently wasn't initially that sold on Brandon.
No, he wasn't. He wanted Johnny Depp himself.
People in contention for the role, including Johnny Depp, who I don't think would have worked at all.
No,
before he went weird, so he might have been okay.
It was Edward Scissorhands kind of period, wasn't it? So it might have worked. He was live.
Would have worked, at least,
yeah.
But once he saw Brandon in character, that was it. It was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they even discussed John Bon Jovi and Christian Slater for the role, didn't they? But, I mean, no. I can't see any of them working. I mean, it's like, I'm going to mention it, the Jason Momoa thing. I can't imagine. He's a great actor, but it's not his role. No. He's not lithe enough for it.
Yeah, I was going to say the crow is lithe. It's sinewy kind of power, not muscular power.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Momoa's great for muscular power.
Yeah.
That's what he's always been good for. But his subtle acting would have been great, but the fight scenes would have been okay. Now you're just going to pound him into paste. Yeah,
basically, you believe that he could do a lot more damage than he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't. Yeah, but Brandon, perfect casting, and the way he voiced Eric was spot on, in my opinion. I mean, if you read the comics after you've watched the film, you can hear it all being said in Brandon's voice, which works. So, but after he's laid out Tintin, literally laid him out with what was it? What was the description? put a knife in all of his major organs in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
How do they know which order he did it? That's what I want to know.
Then he went off to Gideon's, didn't he?
Yes.
Gideon's pawn shop. Which
With a W.
you see before all of this, you see Tintin in there selling stuff and leaving. And he says a really weird line, and I'm still not entirely sure what he says as he shuts that door. Oh, I'll close this up real good for you, mess up.
Well, it's like going back to the slave thing, because that's what slaves used to do. Like the black slaves, they'd be like, "Yes, master," kind of thing. It's like,
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird way of saying master. It's that kind
Right.
of like Creole kind of way.
Right,
So
fine.
yes,
All right.
master.
I get it
So
now.
it's like it's almost like this white guy's telling me what to do. I'm going to play the slave card, if you will. You know, he's the kind of person to do that, I think.
Okay, I thought he might have been saying a different word completely. So, okay, fine.
No.
All right.
Although
Yeah.
in that scene he also uses the word sacrifice, which I was like, what does that mean? And I did look it up.
Oh,
Do
yeah,
you know what
because
it
he
means?
says... No, go on.
It's normally used for fungus, but it means someone who survives on decay.
Wow.
So
Perfect.
pawnbroker. Well, he's not a pawnbroker. He's a fence.
He is, yeah.
Someone who takes stolen goods from people who have been victimized. So he is surviving on decay. It's actually, this is the thing I like about Tintin. He's an awful character, but he's very intelligent.
Obviously,
Every
yeah.
scene he's in, he pretty much comes out with big words. So this is someone who could have done something better. with
Wow.
his life,
Yes, he
but
probably
chose
could have. That's given me a new insight into that character, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, he does say Halloween isn't till mañana and stuff like that,
Which I disagree with. Like I said at the top, October is Halloween.
yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, it's a month of Halloween. Yes, we need to actually make this a thing. So everybody out there, acknowledge that October is Halloween, not just the 31st. Have as many parties as you like with fancy dresses as long as you like, and decorate the house as long as you like as well. There we go. I have spoken. You should all do this. I mean, the other thing that annoys me is they only start putting Halloween decorations out in the shops at the start of October normally.
Yeah.
I mean, they have started now. In fact, I've been Halloween shopping the last week, and it's been fun.
Well, there you go.
So, but places like Asda, Walmart, will only put them out on the 1st of October.
Yeah.
So,
If at all. Sometimes
Yeah.
they might do it even later if they can get away with it.
true, yeah. I mean, Morrison's don't generally beat them to the punch, but yeah, it's the supermarkets that's the problem. They should start them earlier. Should be able to buy Halloween decorations in September, in my opinion. I mean, I'm only asking for a month, not 4 like they're doing for Christmas.
Exactly.
Anyway, right, yeah. So he kills Tintin, then he goes to Gideon's, and he says one of the best lines of the film. I heard a tapping as of someone gently rapping on my chamber door.
Yeah.
Nevermore. Bit of Poe.
Of course, I have a nod to the fact that they are of the same basic family, Corvidae, crows and ravens.
Yeah.
Did quite like that.
I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. Of course, he goes for a very specific purpose,
Yes,
which is to get the engagement ring back.
which is very accurate to the comic book, I will state this.
Okay, good.
Very, very accurate. Even the look, they nailed it. They got the right actor. They got everything right about this, in my opinion. It played out slightly differently, but it had to.
Yeah.
So different mediums and all that, But yes, very good. I watched this scene with great hope, and yes, it was very well done.
Yeah, I mean, you said about different sort of mediums. It's like I said in the Sandman thing. There's a difference between adaptation and recreation.
Yes.
And this is an adaptation, so things will change.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Like when people complain about books are literally you hallucinating to looking at dead bits of tree. If you think about it.
It's not mine. I don't know where it's come from.
Okay, fair
but,
enough.
Yeah, it's that thing of like you will have something in your head, and obviously with graphic novel or comic book, you do have a bit of help in that.
But the voices and things are still entirely your creation in your mind. And someone will come along and go, this is what I think fits. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, or whatever, So yeah, different media, it's fine. Adaptation is good.
I mean, okay, the biggest difference is the guitar thing. Because in the comic book, Eric Draven is not a guitarist.
Yes.
So that's the biggest difference with Gideon's Pawn Shop. But I really like is that gasoline that I smell?
That little moment of like, oh, I was giving you the out.
Yeah.
Now you're pushing it. So yeah.
I mean, speaking about quotes and things, I mean, some of my very first concerts ever, I found ways of having Crow samples before every song. Before I've played any song on stage. So we'd have the things like the joke that we'll come to later on with Funboy, and the of someone gently rapping on my chamber door kind of thing. So that was in there. I used to put all these samples into the songs or at the beginning of songs and things, and the Crow was the one that I used. There was pretty much nothing else that I used.
I mean, I will say, fortunately, because I think I'd be bored of the Crow, you have sort of, over the years, used other sources.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was just, that's how I started. First couple of gigs. And then I think I put in things from The Haunting and other iconic films, for me anyway. I stole bits and bobs and used them for live concerts.
Star Wars in some places.
Yes, definitely. And it gradually got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's anything goes as long as it fits.
Yeah. Including Doctor Who.
Oh, yes. Regenerate.
Yeah.
We have Gideon's, the whole fallout from that, and he survives, obviously, so that he can fulfill a role later.
Although he's got badly burnt head.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when Eric actually meets Albrecht, isn't it?
Yes. After that, he creeps in on him.
Very, very strange encounter, yeah. It obviously makes an impression.
I think Albrecht maybe recognises him sooner than he realises. I think there is that moment of, I think I know your face, but that doesn't make sense, before later on when it is definitely, oh yes, this is you.
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of gives him pause a little.
To be honest with you, the dialogue between Eric and Albrecht is kind of inconsequential at this point.
It is, yeah.
It doesn't call back too much, does it? I mean, yes, okay, he mentions Tintin, doesn't he?
Yeah. But I think it's mostly just to kind of remind us that Albrecht's in the film. It's like, by the way, this guy still exists. We'll get to him later, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's almost tacked on, and obviously that guy who's looting gets his attention, which gives gives Eric the way to escape.
Yeah, it gives him an exit strategy, doesn't it? So he legs it at that point. But yeah, that's an important scene in the fact that it's them two meeting and the recognition. But yeah, the whole freeze thing. Yeah, it does call back. It does call back, doesn't it?
There is a call back to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I thought Copstead's freeze,
Yeah. I suppose it's comedy between them, the two. It's a bit of comic relief, isn't it? That's another difference between the film and the comic book. There is no comic relief in the comic book.
It's all just heavy.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's romance or death.
Right. So I think a film would have suffered from...
It might have.
Especially at that time. I think maybe audiences might be a bit more accepting now, but certainly then.
They certainly missed a lot of the torturous elements of it out. I mean, Eric torturing himself with memories, that's a big thing in the comic book. There's a lot of that going on. Whereas in the film, it's flashbacks that give him pain for a moment.
Yeah.
He's in the book, he's hurting himself with them, with the memories. Wow.
So, whereas in the film, it's, right, here's a thing that I've just suddenly had unlocked because of touching someone or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold it. In the comics, it's like, right, I'm going to keep revisiting this. I guess power?
Yeah. No.
Like powers.
I don't think it's not done in items and things like that in the book so much. It's just he remembers things. And he spends more time in the house. It wasn't an apartment, it was a house that they had.
Yeah.
Just basically driving himself insane, thinking about it. And the Crow's almost telling him to stop looking.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a lot heavier, a lot darker, and I think I'm glad that we got what we got.
In a way, yeah. I mean, I'd like to see a faithful adaptation done, with a big budget and everything, but it would be a very different type of film.
Well, yeah, I think just by what you've said, of how much levity has been added, I guess, to make it more palatable.
That's it. I mean, the whole scene with Albrecht in his apartment, which happens fairly shortly after this, doesn't it?
Yes, it's close enough anyway. I don't think there's much. Actually, I think Funboy happens first.
It does, yeah. With another one of the greatest lines in the film, the joke. Yeah, but there's levity in the scene with Albrecht in his apartment as well but it's mainly Albrecht and Eric that bring the levity.
Yeah.
There's dark humour.
A little bit of Sarah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But there's dark humour with the bad guys. I mean, in particular, Funboy, which I really like that scene. But that's not directly next, is it? There's something else. We've got the we find out who Darla is, don't we?
Yeah.
And the fact that the gang are there swallowing bullets, I believe, is that right?
Well, the swallowing bullets happened earlier.
Did it?
He was pregnant.
Oh, he was, wasn't he? Yeah. Because he says wussies go last.
It was T-Bird who swallowed the bullets.
Yeah.
And then T-Bird stubbed his cigarette on his tongue as well.
Because
he's insane.
Which I didn't realise. I know the actor David Patrick Kelly from so much, including Jerry Horn in Twin Peaks, particularly The Return. I was like, why do I know his face? I was like, oh yeah, it's him. Yeah. Completely different. Well, actually, they're both a bit loopy, but yeah, completely different ways, though.
No, I mean, I've seen him around since he was young acting. You know, I've seen him in so many things.
Wasn't he the guy in The Warriors as well?
Yes, he was, yes. He was in Warriors.
Guy.
But then I get him crossed with somebody else. There's someone else from Hollywood from the 80s that he looks a bit like, unless it is actually him. It might be. It could be him all the way through. He's good at doing things with his voice as well. I mean, T-Bird sounds so unstable just because of his vocal performance.
Well, that's it. He's kind of put like both grit to it, but also a kind of wobble, and you never know like where he's gonna pitch it.
That's it. It's very well done. I think he's a great actor. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Yes, so we know who Darla is. We've got that moment where we make this connection, and you know, she's not in a good place herself, and you know, there's probably a lot of backstory there for explaining why she is how she is. You know, what led her to that, I wonder.
Yeah, drugs, drink.
So I don't think people tend to get into that lifestyle by choice.
No, they don't.
You know, it's something that must have happened. Whether it was, you know, some kind of postpartum thing and she never got through it with Sarah, potentially, which is why maybe she's a more distant mother. See, again, more trauma in this film.
I think it's money. I think it all comes down to money and not being able to survive properly. And drugs. Put the two things together, and you've got someone who ends up turning to the darkness, don't they?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, in the book, Sarah's called Sherry, and Darla's kind of she's looking after the entire gang. It's not in a bar as such.
No,
she's just basically hiding guns and things for them. And Sherry, they only appear twice in the whole story, so it's been expanded on. The whole thing has, but
I think part of Sarah's expansion is because of the loss of Brandon. Like the narration, I believe, was a rewrite to facilitate that. So yeah, I can understand her character sort of growing to fill a void, I guess.
Yeah, it worked. But yeah, so are we on Funboy now then?
Yeah, because it's pretty much straight after Darla, isn't it? Really, her introduction, where they're together.
Jesus Christ!
Supplying her.
Stop me if you heard this one.
I love the joke, and every single time it cracks me up. I'm just like,
I'm the same. It does make me laugh. Handy and keep it 3 nails, and he asks, "Can you put me up for the night?" Actually, in the film, and because this is one of the samples I use, I remember this so well. And he asks, "Don't you ever die?" That's Funboy shouts in the background, and then he says, "Can you put me up for the night?" Yeah, it's so well acted. But now there's another deleted scene. It's not really a deleted scene. The scene was a lot longer than it was cut down to. After Funboy's been shoved in the bath, having technically shot himself in the foot, and Eric turns his attention to Darla, which he should never have done. because that's not his purpose. He's not there to help the living.
No.
And he says, "Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children." And he removes the morphine from her. Well, Funboy wakes up whilst this is going on, finds the razor blade on the floor that Darla was holding, and attacks Eric with it. And as you see later on in the film, it's quite important as well, this. I mean, this was something I always thought, what's going on? If you've probably seen the iconic poster image, the photograph of Brandon Lee in full costume sitting in a chair in the church on set. He was just on set, it wasn't part of the film. But he's just sat there in his whole get-up. And you can see that he's got gaffer tape around his arms and around his stomach. And there's bits of string in that, or rope in amongst it all. And I always wondered why he'd done that. And as it turns out, it's because he was interfering with the living and he could bleed. So when Funboy attacked him with the razor blade, it was permanent. So the damage was permanent. So he basically stuck himself together with tape.
Obviously, that would have come straight after the shot through the hand.
Yeah.
Which these days that hand looks so terrible and fake.
But no, it served its purpose.
Now, yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing that heal and then kind of going, so there is like reasonable ways he can be hurt. Because I noticed later on in the film, you can see the gaffer tape, and on your figure in the background, the gaffer tape is on his left hand. And
if you feel, I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but round the middle there's rope and there's gaffer tape round there, yeah. And it's on both hands as well. Basically, it's because he could be hurt if he wasn't on his track of vengeance. Yeah.
No, I never knew that. Because we also see the straight razor drop.
Yeah, we do, and they make a point out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is it. That's it.
If they were going to cut the moment of him being attacked, they should have cut that drop because it makes it look important, and we never get the payoff.
Well, yeah. I mean, we knew she had a weapon in her hands just in case, but it didn't need to know that it was a straight razor. But yeah, that's the reason it was there, is because Funboy attacks the crap out of Eric and slashes him up. So, yeah.
I wonder if that was changed after the death and stuff, because
I think it was.
Michael Massey might have felt weird being that he was not the one, I guess the one responsible in some ways you can look at it, but I don't like to consider him responsible for it.
Are we going to broach that subject at this point?
We'll leave it for later.
Okay, fair enough. Right, okay.
Yeah,
I can understand that Michael Massey wouldn't want to be shown on screen attacking Brandon Lee.
Yeah, or even, his stunt double even,
Yeah.
He'd probably be very reluctant, so I can understand him not wanting that scene.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but anyway, so right. So he attacks him, and then Darla obviously runs out because she was told to. Your daughter is out there in the streets, go to her. And then what's his face turns up, Tony Todd.
Yeah.
With his very interesting weapon. He's got a very unusual gun. They tried to make him look like he was now a merc. He's been in the special forces, and now he's a mercenary or something working for top dollar.
Yeah.
That's what they tried to put him across as in the film. And he's got this special gun with silencing and stuff on it. But yeah, then you got the bit where Eric Draven shushes him and then backs out of a window.
Yeah.
Something that, I mean, every time I watch it, I wonder this. And the last time I watched it, I was ready to listen properly. And I had to rewind it and listen to it again and rewind it and listen to it again. He does laugh as Tony Todd's character looks at, I forget his character's name because it's not mentioned in the film. Grange, there we go. As he looks out the window, you hear Eric laughing. But it's so low mixed in with everything that unless you know that it's his voice, you don't really spot it. And I love that. I think that was brilliant. The fact that it's taken.
I was watching with headphones on, so I could catch it a lot easier, probably.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
But actually, speaking of low in the mix, just briefly, I just flicked in my head, so I'll forget it otherwise.
Okay.
Michael Wincott, top dollar.
Yeah.
When he's speaking normally, his voice almost disappears.
I can imagine.
It's not well mixed, I don't think, because he's got a very low kind of tone.
Yeah.
But obviously, when he's screaming later on, it's perfect, fine, great. But yeah, it's very hard to hear in some scenes, and it's not even like there's a lot of noise outside of it. It's even quiet scenes.
It's because to speak that low, it doesn't travel very well.
No, that's it. So
this is why subwoofers have to have a higher wattage. So yeah, bass doesn't travel that well unless you can project it. But yes, when he's on the rooftop shouting, you definitely hear all of it. But some of the bits, yeah. Because
you'd have thought like they'd have mixed it better in ADR, but maybe.
Oh, that's the scene we missed out. We've missed out between Thingy and Funboy, Gideon's and Funboy. We actually go and visit Top Dollar, don't we?
Yeah.
And he says, "Childhood's over the moment you know you're going to die." Which had a profound effect on me as well. During, I was like, "Oh crap!"
I went, "Oh wait, damn."
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
but no, So we see that they've basically done something to a girl to the point where she's died. It's left open to your interpretation, and that's when we find out that she likes eyes.
Yes. And his weird incestuous relationship with her.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Isn't that the bit with it? No, that's with is it Time Baby, the song? No, they don't have to take you away.
Yeah.
I think that's the bit with that song. Good song. Another good song on the soundtrack. Yeah.
Oh, so many. Yeah.
Oh, there really is. I mean, I really like My Life with the Thrill Kill Cults after the Flesh track. But that's much later on in the film. To be honest, I thought that was Zodiac Mind Warp when I first heard it.
I can see it. I think you're not the only person. I'm sure I've read something somewhere online. Someone's like, "Oh, is that not that?"
Obscure 90s industrial metal bands. Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't give anything away about me at all, does it?
No.
I mean, on the subject of the soundtrack again, there's the Stone Temple Pilots song, Big Empty. Wasn't originally the choice. They were going to put Only Dying on. But because the song Only Dying is about what it's about, and Brandon's death, they quickly shoved forward Big Empty and said, have this instead. So, yeah.
I get that. It makes a lot of sense, really.
It was a very respectful thing to do, and it worked better for the vibe anyway, so yeah. But there's, a little nugget of information about the soundtrack.
There's probably tons of those, but yeah.
Yeah.
Here all day.
We could. Yeah. On the subject of soundtracks, James O'Barr actually worked with somebody else who went under the name of Trust Obey. That was the act name, to make a soundtrack for the comic.
Yes, I did see something about this, yeah.
And it is very just industrial metal goth kind of soundscape thing.
So the filmmakers got it right.
It's kind of Diet Ministry. But yes, it kind of... if you put the two things side by side, it really kind of works. You can see what was going on. And there's also moments in it that you can hear the actual soundtrack to the movie as well. In amongst it, the drums, the tribal vibe, it comes across in that as well. So somebody was thinking the same.
Yeah, it definitely sounds it. And that's good, though. It means that the author's vision and the filmmaker's vision were close enough.
Yeah.
At least when it comes to the sound.
Yeah. See, I met James O'Barr, and I talked to him about both things, and he seems very happy with the film. Purely from it brought more people to the comic books kind of perspective, but he also, because of what had to be done to make it work with Brandon's death and everything else, I think he was just very kind of, okay, it wasn't what I wanted it to be, but they did a very good job.
I guess it's like he recognised their limitations.
Yeah,
that's
it. Yeah. There we go. Better way of saying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there we go. But now, where were we then? Funboy's dead.
I think this is the Albrecht proper meeting, the freeze.
Well, with Funboy,
there,
it's worth noting the needles are placed in his chest in the shape of a crow, and there's a blood trail between them. But this is where he turns up at Albrecht's, isn't it? And he says the immortal line, "You still have your hat on."
Yeah, which I don't know why. Every single time I see Ernie Hudson just in his underwear, walking around with a cap on, I'm just that's just again something tickles me.
Yeah, gets me every time. Love that scene.
Yeah. But this is the development of their relationship and the cementing that yes, this is the guy from a year ago, and the fact that Albrecht, as a police officer who's seen probably a lot in this city, still remembers that case.
Yeah,
it says a lot about his character.
Does indeed.
And it's again, this compassion, this softness to him is so well done by Hudson.
There's a deleted scene before this scene where Ernie Hudson is searching for the case files and stuff, and he's getting in trouble with other police detectives and people trying to do it, and he gets somebody to actually find them. I think some of it ended up in the film. Because you see him drawing down.
I believe Peter Smith was her name, who helps him.
Yeah, and don't say you want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
there's
it's
all
a good
that
moment. Again, it's just showing
humanity.
The fun side. Yeah, that's it.
Somebody's got to represent humanity because they don't the bad guys in this do not represent humanity in any way, shape, or form.
And even his superior, the other the detective who's got the same kind of pockmarking as Edward James Olmos, really. He's not humanity either. He's very much like, look, this case is done.
Yeah.
Stop digging it up.
It's a job. Stop. We
need to do with these new cases.
Stop caring about your job. Just do the job. Basically.
Yeah, and this is why he's been slapped down to beat cops.
Yeah, because he cares.
So he was detective before, I think, wasn't he? And he was demoted.
Yeah. They're going to put you down to traffic warden or something. School crossing warden, that was
School
it.
Crossing guard,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that thing of like, well, for someone who cares, that's probably not a bad job either.
No, but it's. Yeah, so they have that whole conversation. He shows Eric the 30 hours of pain. And then Eric says, I thought I might use your front door.
It's like you're going to disappear again. It's like, no.
Yeah, I really like that. I think
one of those brilliant moments. Yeah.
That scene, for me, changes the entire film. Because up until this point, it's been vengeance, 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 blah, 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 with a little bit of romance and care and stuff. And like when he finds the ring and things, you're getting all these flashback moments. And we should talk about some of them. Yeah. We should talk about the flashbacks soon, however. But yes.
I kind of want to leave them for a very obvious reason.
Fair enough, fine. I'll let you bring them up then. But yes, he has this whole 30 hours of pain thing, and then you see that Eric is still got humanity about him. It's not just out to murder these people. That's not it's not everything that he is. He still cares about stuff. And especially with the Sarah thing, when Sarah turns up, because it's after that he saves Sarah, isn't it, from the getting run over.
Yeah, and he's trying to hide away from her because it's like, I don't want to drag you into this. Effectively.
Yeah.
This isn't me. Leave it alone. But of course, she's a wiser bird than that,
It can't rain all the time. The sky won't fall forever. When I first got hold of the OST rather than the songs one, and I found that on there, the Hangman's Noose track, I was just over the moon, absolutely over the moon, and I just listened to it on repeat over and over again. Must have driven everyone around me batty. But it meant a lot to me, so and that's probably why I picked this image that I've got framed here, Tears and Rain. I mean, it's never mentioned in the comic books at all that it can't rain all the time, or won't rain all the time, or whatever you want to say. That was created just purely for the film. But what a line!
Yeah, and that's it. It's that thing again. He's got this mission of grief and vengeance, but after that, sun comes out.
Yeah.
Basically, metaphorically speaking. Well kind of always literally, really. Shelley's bathed in light, and all that, and so it is kind of like sunlight coming out.
It is, yeah, definitely.
Just a quick thing that I've just thought about. This whole film would have fallen apart if Eric was cremated.
It would have, yeah, wouldn't have worked.
It would have been like Sandman otherwise. Just a
That's
cloud.
that's why I want to be cremated.
Yeah.
There is no coming back once
back
I've died.
As a grief-ridden revenant.
I want to come back as grief-ridden sand. There we go. And then I can go through letterboxes. Yeah, that's a yes. I shall make you feel uncomfortable. Well, and he saves Sarah, and she accuses him of being a clown, and then you see all the kids running towards him, and you have that moment that is basically the you want Brandon Lee's dates to come up as they do the slow-mo of him smiling. You really want it to come up as a tribute to Brandon Lee or something. I think in fact it's been shown as that, with that on it elsewhere, you know, in like the behind the scenes stuff or something, but you do want it that because it's here is Brandon Lee smiling, and this is the moment that you want to remember, and it feels such a genuine smile as well. It does as well. He does it so well, you know. Any actor who can make you believe every emotion they're feeling is a good actor, and it's a shame that there wasn't any more after this. Yeah, I agree. Well and truly agree. But yeah, so great scene, really heartwarming. You've got the scene with Albrecht and then the scene with Sarah to make you see how human Eric is. Then Sarah goes home, puts the vinyl on, falls asleep, and Darla makes her breakfast. Yep. For the first time in her entire life. Potentially, God knows. And yeah, she reacts badly to it because she's just like, what happened? You know, what's this mother of the year act all about? But I respect how she softens when she realizes that, oh, you're not doing this for show. You're trying to make an effort. You're actually trying to make an effort, yeah. Not formative. You're being my mother. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I love the fact that she does soften on that. I do as well. So well done. The whole thing's well done. And then, of course, Sarah goes off to the loft, doesn't she? Yeah. And we see Eric burning all his memories because once he's touched them and absorbed them, as it were, he just burns them to get rid of them because it hurts too much. Yeah. And of course, I think it's all like that, little things that we hold memories of, people or things, and we're just like, I can't have this in my life anymore, so yeah, we have to get rid. You know, it's well by this point he's acknowledged that he's not part of the land of the living, isn't he? You know, and that's it. He's gone. He's going to be gone soon. Yeah. 3 out of 5 done. You know. Yeah, that's a 60% completion rate. You know. Nothing dark about the way that's said. But no, yeah, so yeah, and then Sarah turns up and he tries to avoid her and hide, and until she turns around and gets upset about it and says, I thought you cared. And he says he does. And the way the sun comes out, it's the only bit of the whole bloody film done in daylight, really, isn't it? This. Yeah. It's one of the things I loved about this film was the darkness of it, apart from this. And the sun shines, and you see his silhouette on the wall, and I do care, so kind of thing. Yeah. And he explains to her that he can't be there, which then she explains to Albrecht later on that he can't. What does he actually say? Can you remember? I can't. I can't remember the exact wording. It's beautiful and poetic, but there's not much beautiful and poetic. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Remembering every instance is a bit of a struggle. Yeah, but no. So yeah, that's when you get the skank thing and it's T-Bird next, isn't it? T-Bird, yeah. Oh God. I mean, I do wonder if Skank is a bit simple. I do get the impression of that, and he's I think the one of the gang who is just going along for the ride because he doesn't know any different. That's what I think as well. One I have a little bit more sympathy for, but not too much, because he still chooses to do the action. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think right and wrong's still in there somewhere, surely, you know. Yeah, and he still steals cars off people and beats people up. So no. And bearing in mind, to be honest with you, and this is the big thing I've noticed. When you see the flashbacks, Skank doesn't look like Skank. In the flashbacks, he looks like a very, very well-to-do kind of person.
I'd forgotten about that. So yes, my original sympathy kind of disappears because it just means that he spent a year just probably on meth.
Well,
Something.
let's put a bit of sympathy technically back in.
Okay.
Maybe what happened there messed him up.
Could be.
And he spent a year not knowing what to do with himself, and it's made him worse, really, like, not care about himself and stuff so much. Maybe he'd only just joined the gang or something.
Or maybe that was the first time they'd done something of that severity that he was a part of, anyway.
It is quite a difference between that skank and the skank you see that steals the car.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, when he goes racing after T-Bird. Yeah. So, yeah. So it's another good scene.
Yeah.
Where that giant guy gets out of the tiny little foreign car.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that scene in The Simpsons with that big tall bloke, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit like that. But, yeah.
Yeah. I know what you mean. And, yeah, it is one of those things where, like I said, I'd forgotten actually how he looked in the flashbacks for a bit, but now when you said it, I was like, oh, yeah. He didn't
I know.
look that bad, so...
He had kind of a Western vibe about him. You could imagine him coming from Mexico or something, from the way he was dressed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, there is a big difference. He looks a lot scummier a year later. And you're right. You might be right. It might be drugs that have done it to him, but it also might be mental health issues. So,
well, it might be mental health issues which made him take more drugs.
There we go.
It's a common thing, unfortunately.
It is,
So we're both right, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I'd like to ask somebody, but there isn't anyone really to ask. I can have a word with James O'Barr next time I run into him, maybe. I'm sure I will one of these days.
Yeah.
Because I really want, because when he's at these events and things, he's drawing, and you can get one of those drawings, and I really want one. So
yeah,
that's what so I want to meet James O'Barr again. Anyway, yeah, T-Bird. So he appears in the back of T-Bird's car, doesn't he? At this point.
Yeah, pretty much just says drive.
Yeah, I'm your passenger. Drive.
Which, I don't know if you suddenly got Iggy Pop in your head when he said that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I am the passenger.
It was, of course, meant to be in the film, but scheduling didn't work out, so he appeared in a later one.
Much to everyone else's dismay.
Yeah. Not the best role I think anyone's ever done. But
I really hope Iggy Pop can actually act.
I think he can.
I think so as well, but not even. Oh dear. He was one of the main reasons that film was so awful, but let's not go there.
That's for me to suffer on my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on your passenger, you drive, and obviously the police. I feel sorry for that one cop. He's just trying to like put the cream. Well, not actually cream.
You can't even call it cream. Yeah.
But he spilled it all out himself.
Oh, it's awful. I mean, if that was actually hot, where it landed, not so good. Anyway, so they race after T-Bird with Eric behind him with a gun to his head, and then he straps him to his car. And in the meantime, Skank's stealing stuff from a shop, and then he steals someone's car. What's this, happy horse? Yeah, I've only ever heard that phrase used once, and it was in that film.
I haven't heard it anywhere else either.
I have used it ever since.
I haven't heard it either. Then,
No, you will have. Just
maybe I've just blanked it.
yeah, probably just ignored it or something. But I say it a lot whenever I see something that I'm like, "What's going on there?" Quite often, it's "What's this, happy horse?" Beep. So there's a chase going on. I mean, he's got a Dodge Charger or something, hasn't he? It's a
Something like that.
pretty immense vehicle that T-Bird has, which is ironic. It's probably called Grease Lightning. Sorry.
Yeah.
T-Bird car.
Yeah.
Yeah, go Grease Lightning.
The chicks all not legally called cream.
Oh yes. Oh, well done. That's the line of the show right there. Brilliant. No, but yeah. So he's being chased by the police in that, and then also Skank's chasing them in this little foreign car with a broken windshield.
Yeah.
And yeah, should have zigged. He should have zigged when he's instead of. Oh, what's the line? He zigged when he should have zagged. That was it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. Eric gaffer tapes him to his seat, puts a bomb between his legs, and sends him into the harbour.
Yeah, that's it.
Does Detroit have a harbour?
I'm not sure. Someone from Detroit will probably tell us.
Definitely
No,
not a sea
yeah,
harbour.
yeah.
It doesn't know.
Unless that was a river. On the subject of it being Detroit, there was actually a Devil's Night in Detroit where they used to set fire to buildings and stuff.
I thought you were going to say there was a planned crossover with RoboCop, and I was going to get really excited.
No. Sorry, there isn't. But no, there is actually a Devil's Night in Detroit, but of late, what they've been doing is having an Angels Night, where people walk vigil around the streets to make sure no one's doing anything naughty. And when I say vigil, I don't mean vigilante. I mean vigil as in groups of people who are just walking around, making sure no one's doing anything naughty, because if they're seen, they call the police, basically.
Yeah.
Which I think...
Well, that's a difference between a vigilante. A vigilante would then intercede rather than call the authorities, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So, but now they'd have Angels Night instead of Devil's Night, which is nice. I don't know how official that is and how people have taken it, if you know what I mean, but apparently...
I guess it's like, there's a lot of these, national or international whatever day, and 90% of them are just because the internet says so.
Yeah.
It's probably along the lines. People have just not ganged up, that sounds worse, but, sort of grouped together to try and help, make a safer neighbourhood.
Yeah.
Detroit has had, quite a long history of crime and things like that.
Yeah, it has.
Does have and it's nice to see that people are being socially responsible, I suppose, and helping to minimise problems. It's a good thing to see, especially in these days.
I agreed. Completely agreed. So yeah, anyway, so T-Bird explodes.
Yes, T-Bird's gone bye-bye.
And Skank sees it happen, and this is where we are coming to the end, aren't we, really? Because Eric's only after Skank now. That's it, done.
Yeah. Well, I suppose unofficially he's kind of after Top Dollar being the orchestrator. But
he didn't know this. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's only seen the group.
It's only when he's chased down Skank and goes into the meeting that he realises, oh, this isn't just you guys. There's something bigger beyond all this. And that scene in that room is absolutely amazing. And this is where a piece of footage that I'll be putting at the end of the video was referenced in an interview with Brandon.
Putting that right at the end.
Oh, that piece of footage.
That very creepy, yeah. It sent shivers down my spine. You'll all see it at the end. Just really stay on to the end because it's very important. I'm not even going to put all the end card bits over because I don't think it should be detracted from.
I agree.
Yeah.
If it's the one I think it is.
Yeah, he was referring to this scene, I think, where he was saying, he's obviously been prepared, he's got the bulletproof vest and doing what he called the Preuss shuffle, I believe. When you're being shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a great scene because they're just like, got you.
Yeah, and it doesn't work. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this whole moment leading up to it. And then the actual fight scene, so well choreographed. And I mean, really well choreographed. But 20-year-old me loved this scene for the violence. Over 40-year-old version of me loves this scene because of the choreography. And I think the work that went into it to make it so absolutely amazing. And the timing, the editing, everything put together, I just watch it as a work of art now.
I mean, there's a few people I saw, who sat around, and I'm like, I recognise them because I've seen them in, behind-the-scenes stuff as stunt people. I think his name's Grant Imada or something like that, the East Asian guy.
Yes.
I've seen him in so many things. I think The Matrix.
Wasn't he in Batman?
Probably.
I think he was. I think he was one of the guys that was in the bell tower.
Could have been. But yeah, I mean, there are so many people here I've seen as stunt performers or behind-the-scenes stuff, and it's like, if I've seen these people, it means they're good. If I know these faces, they are good at their job, so it does make sense that the choreography and the execution of that choreography is so good. And I agree. Young me was like, yeah, shooty, bang, bang, oh, look. Oh, he's getting up and he's going to give it to him back now. And it's like, now I'm like, oh, yes, that's so well timed, so well done. And obviously shooting around it, making the scene work with the camera as well. It is gorgeous. It's it's a work of art, definitely.
I mean, if you watch the extended version of it, which it's on, I've only got it on this version, which is the American. It's the collector's edition. It's got lots and lots of bonus features, which
doesn't want to focus.
Well, no, that's the other.
Oh yeah, the other camera.
Yeah, the other camera.
As focusing on the other one, it's fine.
Yeah, this it's the Miramax Dimension Collector's Series version of it. Surround sound, blah blah blah, but it's got extended scenes in it, and this is one of those scenes that's extended. You see a lot more fighting going on. There's even deleted moments, deleted scenes on there from this, and there's so much more to it. They must have been working on this for a week, just this one scene, or more. And I mean, one of the interviews I saw with him was talking about how cold it was in that warehouse that they were filming in, because it was winter and they were filming at night, etc., etc., and it was freezing. It must have been horrible to do, but to see the work done, I think if I'd have been there and watched afterwards, because I've been in some pretty horrible things where I've had to shoot in most horrible conditions and things.
Yeah.
I think seeing that work come out of it, I'd have been like, well, it was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Brandon never got to see. Sorry. The final product, which is a real shame because, wow.
Yeah, it is definitely a shame, because you can see the work that obviously not just he put into it. You know, everyone says, "Oh, Brandon Lee, The Crow," but everyone on this film was working their behinds off.
Yeah.
You know, to make it the best it could be, and apart from some little minor areas, that work does show through. There are moments in any film, even stuff that people think is amazing, like Citizen Kane. There are moments in that you're just like, really?
Yeah.
But it's, you know, praise and everything like that. And I think it's not Citizen Kane. I'm not saying that at all. But
but
for what it's trying to do, it is definitely high in its class, if you will. You know,
I saw. What was the actor that played T-Bird? Is that Michael Massey? Yeah. Saw him talking about it and saying, in the same respect that people look at Milton and Byron and people like that, and try to take that art into their own thing and use it as inspiration. That's what's happening with this film. They've taken the inspiration from James O'Barr's work and seen how it's been, the art's been put together, and then created their own art from that. Wow. I watch this scene now, and I am watching everything that's moving. When I first watched it, you just watch the Crow, don't you? You just watch Eric and how he's behaving. Well, whereas you've just said it yourself, you're spotting who the actors are now.
Yeah. I mean, there is one of the stunt guys who looks a bit like Jay-Z, and I feel sorry for the guy, but you know, can't win them all.
No, you can't win them all, no. So yes, the big scene, and Top Dollar. Oh, there is a moment where Eric and Top Dollar fight with swords, I think, in the extended stuff or the deleted scenes.
Because I know they do the roof thing where he's got a sword and he uses the thing from the roof.
Eric does take a sword out of the case and kills a few of the thugs with it. And I don't know if that's in the actual film.
I don't believe so. I don't recall it. I'll put it that way.
Definitely, I've seen it. I've definitely seen Brandon Lee going around that warehouse with a sword, a katana, slashing people up. It's wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are loads of things, and then of course he finds out who Skank is. Skank tries to lie to him and tell him that he's dead already.
Yeah. Skank's that guy over there. Yeah.
Skank's dead. That's Skank there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Skank takes a tumble out of a window.
Yep.
On a swivel chair.
Just like Aragorn off a cliff.
Not quite. Top Dollar, what's his face, and what's her face.
Top Dollar and two people who don't exist.
Yeah, those people. Have legged it out of the club, haven't they? My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult's playing on the stage, and they're playing After the Flesh, one of the best songs on the soundtrack. Well, it's in the top 4. In my opinion.
I mean, it's perfect for the scene.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
during the fight, it just sets the tone. And,
It does, doesn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, that's something I should have mentioned about the choreography and everything. That the whole thing goes so well together with that song over the top.
Yeah. I was praising the choreography, but then in the editing booth, making sure that like the music, everything, it all syncs perfectly.
Yeah.
The cuts are exactly in the right place.
It's
not
brilliant, isn't it?
Disjoint. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So then Eric thinks he's done.
Yeah.
He thinks that's it. But they're in the limo, and she turns around and says, "It is power you can take from him." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The crow is his link.
Yeah. Mystic Asian stereotype.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, because only her will get that. Only that character will get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh dear. So Eric goes back to the grave, and he's about to disappear when Sarah gets kidnapped and the crow sees it.
Yeah.
And this is where the film kind of goes off script, off comic book completely.
Well, because this whole thing's been created by a character who doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in many ways as well, because I mean, Top Dollar in the comic book is just a drug dealer, and T-Bird's the big bad boss. And they're just a gang, really. There's no big citywide thing or anything like that. They're just a gang of lads. Anyway,
they didn't create Devil's Night and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. There was none of that. That's literally been made for the film. But this is where the Skull Cowboy is supposed to appear again on the church steps and turn round to Eric and say, "Do not interfere with the living."
Sort of remind him of something that he'd said earlier in the original source. Yeah.
It feels very apt to mention this now, but there was going to be 2 sequels with Brandon Lee. He signed for 3 films. Yeah. The idea was, because he'd interfered with the living, he was cursed to walk the world, never to be with his Shelley, kind of thing. Right. So that's what the Skull Cowboy is supposed to be, one of these. He's supposed to be an earlier Eric Draven that didn't stick to mission.
He'd interfered, he'd not followed the rules.
Yeah.
And he's saying, don't make my mistake.
Basically, yeah, that's what I think.
It's a cautionary tale. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's appearing to... I'm assuming he knows where each one will come when a crow brings someone back. I mean... Yeah. And he turns up to advise them. And I'd like to have seen that moment. I really would have. I mean, they never did the overdubs for it, so you get to hear the actor in the mask say it through the mask, which sounds terrible. Michael Berryman. I mean, if you don't know who Michael Berryman is, Last House on the Left, Weird Science. Oh, was it? No, he wasn't in Last House on the Left, was he? He was in Hills of Eyes, that's the one.
Yeah, you knew it was Craven. So, yeah. But also friends with Rochelle Davis, strangely enough.
Yeah.
Because I think they did have a moment together when the Skull Cowboy bits were going to be in. And they saw each other, and they might have connected there. I'm not sure if that's exactly how, but there is a shot of her in costume and he with like a leather jacket kind of thing on, so it looks very kind of cowboy-y.
Yeah, fair enough. So, yeah. Okay. But yeah, basically, he warns him. So, they were never going to have the big ending where Eric gets Shelley back.
The typical Hollywood ending was the plan, basically.
They weren't going to have that. They were going to have him do something stupid and end up carrying on to the sequels, in theory.
Yeah.
So, but instead he goes off and he goes in the church and he tries to rescue Sarah, and Albrecht comes to help him. And the woman's figured out that by injuring the crow, you can injure the man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hollywood tropes for
and that's something that unfortunately kept through the sequels as well.
Ugh, I know. And the series.
Although that does give rise to Top Dollar's wonderful moment of the crow impression.
Bang, bang. Come, bang. I'm dead. Yeah, that was it. Brilliant. Great moment. Love that moment.
One moment I could hear Michael Wincott very clearly.
Yes, I think everyone could. Yeah.
From 5 miles away. He puts so much emphasis in that performance, and it sells the moment brilliantly. This is a guy who's just like, I think I'm better than everyone, and I will gloat over it.
Well, that was another sample I used for songs and stuff. Bang, I'm dead. But no, so that's a big moment in the film, because now we know that Eric can die. So
rather than having it tied to his, limited time,
the stakes are now higher.
Yeah.
Because
that's it. He's like, oh no, I'm bleeding, help.
Yeah.
Basically.
And that leads to
with Albrecht, where Albrecht's like, I'll go behind you, you be my midfield. It's like, no.
No, that's not going to work. No. Yeah, I'll die before you get anywhere. Yeah. And then they go up. The crow obviously scratches out the Chinese woman's eyes, and obviously that's compensation for the fact that she's cut out other people's eyes in the film and stuff. In the past, it's poetic justice.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily part of the normal flow of things. It's not like how it's operated before, but it'll do. You can appreciate it.
And then, of course, we get onto the roof, and it's raining, of course.
Yeah.
What else would be happening?
Right now.
Yeah, exactly. And Sarah's falling off the roof, and no, he's got her.
He's got her, and then it's like, it pushes her.
Yeah. Oh God.
Which gets Eric stirred into action. Yeah.
Which leads to a weather vane being used as a sword.
Which, if someone had told me that I'd enjoy a film where that happens, I'd know you're lying.
Yeah, I'd have probably said the same. I mean, just saying it out loud sounds ridiculous, but when you see it, it's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's improvised. He can. It shows that he's got the wherewithal to be like, right, I haven't got a sword. What have I got? This.
Yeah, and it looks cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Some nice sword choreography going on then for a bit. And
distant shots. I'm assuming it's all not Brandon.
Yeah, probably not. No. And then Top Dollar ends up coming off the edge because Eric gives him the 38 hours of pain of Shelley dying.
30 hours of pain in one moment.
Yeah, all at once, all for you.
Yeah.
Great moment, absolutely great moment. Nothing to do with the comic book at all, but a great moment.
Yeah.
And then Top Dollar falls down and gets skewered on. Is it a gargoyle?
Yeah, and it's like, I think he's got through his chest, through the back of his head, it's everywhere, and obviously his blood mixes with the rain coming out.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
It's
very dark, but gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very prettily done. Yes, goth. And then, of course, you've got the moment where Albrecht swears off cigarettes because those things will kill you. And summary of the whole film, basically. Yeah, it's all done. Yeah, your vigilante's up on the roof. Albrecht tells the detective, "You missed it."
Yeah.
Which suggests that he might get a promotion or get his badge back or something.
Well, I was going to say, because he's suspended after the investigation's found out, isn't he? So he'll probably be reinstated at the very least.
Yeah, let's hope so. I really hope he did, because he's a nice guy, Albrecht is.
Yeah.
If all cops were like Albrecht.
Just because you like Ernie Hudson as well.
Maybe, but no. I think as a kid, when I first watched this film, I always thought he was a nice guy. The character's lovely. Yeah. If more cops were like Albrecht, the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, then Eric goes back to the grave, doesn't he? And Shelley comes for him, and that's when there wasn't a dry eye in the house because the song "It Can't Rain All the Time" came on after.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, what a song!
And even watching it this time, I was kind of like, "It's only on the speaker."
Yeah. I mean,
it is beautiful.
That's the fourth song on the album that I absolutely adore. So you got "Burn," "Dead Souls," "My Life with a Thrill," "Cold After the Flesh," and Jane Siberry, and a goth movie with a country and western singer on it.
But it's a very gothic style song.
It is, but when you go and actually look at anything else she's done, you're very surprised that she got involved at all. But what a song.
Maybe she was paying enough.
Yeah, probably. But again, I think that's... And then it comes up with "In Memory of Brandon," or for Brandon
and Eliza. Yeah,
that was it.
Because obviously his fiancée at the time was Eliza Hutton, who was very supportive in getting the film finished. I guess it was a case of, right, Brandon put a lot of time and effort in, as well as everyone else. Do I want that going to waste, or do I want something to honour his memory?
Yeah.
And I respect her a lot for that. You know, she was.
There was a lot of fighting going on to make this film, to get this film actually made. A lot of people fought for it to be finished.
Yeah.
Which it's testament to them all.
Yeah. They all, I think, everyone who survived, should we say, the film. That sounds a weird way of saying it, but
no, because other people died making this film, and a lot of people got ill.
Yeah, but everyone who got through it didn't want any of that to go to waste. They wanted to make sure that something was out there to say, this is what we spent time doing.
Yeah.
And this is what we want to put out into the world. It's not a perfect rendition because we had to make some changes. We had to cover up some issues that we couldn't avoid. But it works, not in spite of it even, I don't think. I think it works because of what's happened. It tells the story in its own way.
Yes.
And that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true.
The reason that I really didn't want to talk about the flashbacks is because that was when it happened. It was during the flashback.
Yes, it was.
Being shot, the assault.
Yeah.
And in fact, there is possibly a version somewhere, but you don't see it in the film because the gun was meant to be in a grocery bag of plastic.
Yeah, to silence it, kind of thing.
It never appears in the film in the bag.
No. They made sure it wasn't included.
Yeah, it was actually a last-minute change as well. Alex Perez said, "Oh no, you do it. Funboyle do it." So it wasn't the original plan. I actually watched an interview a day or two ago, can't recall now, with Michael Massey.
Yeah, I saw the
in
one.
2016, or it's 2016, might be
Yeah.
around then, which was actually not that long before he died of stomach cancer, sadly. And he was saying that he took a year out. He needed time to grieve, obviously, and deal with it. And he's ever since that point, he was so careful. He was so in support of not just going, I think this is safe, but I have made sure.
Yeah.
And that's why the whole thing that happened recently with Baldwin kind of is that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
We should have learned from this, collectively.
Very true.
But he carried that with him throughout his life. It's not something he really got over. He learned to just go, it's a thing that happened and I can't change.
Yeah.
It's not my fault, strictly.
No.
I was the one who did the action, but the prop master, everyone, along the chain could have checked it. And he's going to trust. He's not a gunsmith.
No.
So he's going to assume that he's been handed the right weapon, checked to make sure there isn't something in the chamber or anything like that. And it's just such a weird circumstance. Like the chain of events that led to it.
It's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be the scene where, in the actual attic, where they throw him out the window. They weren't going to throw him out the window originally. They were just going to shoot him in the head twice. And one of them, unfortunately, did actually go off.
Yeah. Because I believe he underwent 6 hours of surgery.
It made it through into his spine, didn't it?
I can't recall, but I know he had 6 hours of surgery and actually sort of died on 31st of March.
Yeah.
At 3 minutes past one, in the afternoon. And like I say, everyone came, in support and did what they could. And I mentioned it earlier and I'd alluded to it. It's part of the reason why Rochelle Davis didn't really do much later. She didn't want to be associated with this film. She didn't want every single thing she ever did to be the girl from The Crow.
Yeah.
So it really coloured her thing. But like I say, she was friends with a lot of people she worked with through this, and she still appears at conventions now.
Yeah.
Her real name is actually Andrew Hunsberger, I believe, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So that's weird.
But yeah, it is one of those things that there's a lot of people who were affected. And like you said as well, it's not just the Brandon situation. There were other people who got ill, who had injuries.
This was
a cursed movie.
Thing with about cursed films.
Yeah.
Poltergeist series.
Yeah.
But
Amityville as well.
Even if you don't believe in paranormal stuff, you've got to... I don't know, you can't just discredit things like this.
I agree.
Where a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
And it's why I like sort of a lot of Japanese films will often have a Shinto or Buddhist blessing at the start. Maybe we should start doing that. Start blessing sets.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really sad, but I'm so glad that we did get it. In spite of everything, and we got through it all.
I agree.
And got the finished product as we got it. But obviously we talked a bit earlier as well about the graphic novel changes. I mean, is there anything else that comes to mind? Because you are the expert in that field.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wanted to touch briefly on sequels that never happened as well. Rob Zombie was supposed to have made one, and I actually.
Halloween's, I'm kind of glad that
Well, I met him in '98 and asked him about it, and he said too many cooks was his answer to why it got taken off. In other words, I'm guessing the studios got over involved in it. However, I read his script not long ago.
Okay.
It's The Crow 2037, A New World of Gods and Monsters. Basically, someone leaked the script online. It's probably Rob himself because he was so upset that it was never going to happen. It's set in obviously 2037. A young boy called Basil and his mother are murdered on Halloween night by a satanic priest called Damien. A year later, the boy is resurrected as the Crow. That's not the story, though. That's that's just the introduction. Yeah. 27 years later, and unaware of his past, he has become a bounty hunter on a collision course with his now all-powerful killer. I love Rob Zombie, and I always have done, right? And I've always thought he was a bit of a quiet genius, as it were, when it comes to certain things. But I'm sorry, Rob. No. just no. I like the whole. He hasn't been able to track down the killer, and it's been 27 years of him trying to track down the killer, but. No, at the same time, and this is, unfortunately, it feels like he's built on some of the bad ideas that they put into the sequels. So yeah. Anyway,
I mean, the real question is how much gratuitous shots of Sherry Moon Zombie would we have?
Well, yeah. How naked would she be in this film? Yeah, right. Yeah, that was I'm glad it didn't happen because I think the idea was too far gone.
Yeah, and if the studio, if you think about Too Many Cooks, is the studio kind of trying to dial back some of his maybe ideas? I'm kind of in praise of that, in support of it.
Honestly, I doubt it because I don't think studios ever know what their audience wants at all. I've never seen a studio interference that helped a film that I know of.
Well, what they might have done is tried to dial back the nudity of his wife.
Maybe, yes. Yeah. Right, anyway, comics. The graphic novels. Yes. It was released in 4 parts or 5 parts or something. It wasn't released. I mean, this whole started out as most of these kind of things do, as small short stories in other comics, and then and then it came out as a whole thing in parts, in sections. I mean, this is before I got into it. I mean, I started reading it in probably 97, 98. And I managed to get hold of a graphic novel of it at the time and borrowed that to read. And it's got a more visceral quality to it, let's put it that way. It's darker, it's heavier, there's so much just nastiness in it. I mean, we're not talking a Marvel comic here. If you've not read it or seen anything to do it, we're not talking anything like Marvel or DC, particularly, even DC. It
certainly isn't Peanuts.
Really not. No. I mean, we're talking about something that's graphic in its death and murder scenes and things like that, and also the romance of it is very graphic to it as well. It's a very adult style of comic. But not in necessarily a pornographic way or anything like that. It's just, I wouldn't let kids read it.
Themes,
I would say it's at least a 16 plus, maybe an 18. It's based loosely on James O'Barr's life. And this is the worst part of it. I mean, he was adopted, he was an orphan. Basically, his mum was so drunk when she gave birth that she couldn't remember when he was born. So they gave him it was somewhere between Christmas and New Year, so they made his birthday New Year. And then he was orphaned at the age of 7. And it's not a great life. And then 3 years of being with his fiancée, she was hit by a drunk driver. And it destroyed his world completely. Destroyed everything. He built this whole thing around her. And to have the thing that it's all built around taken out, that was the foundations gone, everything fell apart. So he'd been drawing all his life. He'd failed art class because he refused to kowtow to their normal, boring stuff because he was already doing that. He'd gone way beyond all of that and stuff. And eventually he poured all of his pain into the Crow. And Shelley is Beverly, his fiancée that died. She's a representation of all that. So when you read The Crow, you're actually reading James O'Barr's soul in a way. And I think I detected that the first time I read it without knowing any of that. It really got to me when I first read it. And it's not just a graphic novel. There's interludes of poetry that are so apt that, you know, and song lyrics as well, like The Hanging Garden by The Cure, my other favourite Cure song, and Decades by Joy Division along with Kamikino. But there's Arthur Rimbaud and Lois Weekly McKay poetry in amongst it all, and it shows you exactly what's going on. You don't even find out how Eric died until part 4.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're reading. You basically started off with ultra violence. He's going off killing these gang members. You know that he died. You know that they did something, and you know that it was horrific. But you don't actually find out all of that until part 4 of the story, and that's near the end. And in this, it's a flip, and it's Eric that survives and has to undergo surgery. He's been shot twice in the head. One of them has paralysed him. Basically, he's paralysed. He's stuck with his eyes open, witnessing everything.
Kind of like locked-in syndrome.
Yeah,
idea.
He's just stuck there. He can't not witness it. And they basically beat and Shelley. But what's different in the book is somebody blows her head off. Well, literally shoots her through the face, and what gets really nasty then is that Funboy, the character in the book, decides he wants to have a go on her after she's been killed. So there's necrophilia.
Yeah.
And he can't.
Most head off as well.
Yeah, she's got a bit of a head missing, so he's having sex with her corpse. It's a little far. You're not expecting this. If you've only seen the film, reading this can be very disturbing.
Yeah.
However, I kind of expected it.
Yeah.
So I would kind of so that's one of the biggest differences. It's also none of this happens in an apartment. Their car breaks down. They're having a lovely day out. They're on the way home. The car breaks down. And whilst Eric's looking at the car, this gang drive past, and then they come back. She locks herself in the car. They shoot Eric, get her out the car, and it's quite horrible. The other thing about the graphic novel, just to completely move away from that as fast as possible, it's drawn really harshly in black and white ink, most of it. There's no colour in there whatsoever. But when you get to the flashbacks, they're done in a softer kind of charcoal kind of thing, graphic pen maybe, something. They're a lot softer, they feel different, just like in the film where they made it coloured and bleached of colour, and stuff. Obviously you got Top Dollar was just a drug dealer and Tiva was the boss. It's a very different feeling, and most of the film is Eric carrying copious amounts of weapons around with him, going off to kill these gang members. I mean, I remember Funboy repented to Eric in the comic book. He sits and talks to him, and they talk and talk, and I believe Eric, if I'm right, gives him the chance to commit, basically. It's kind of like that. He almost gets, it's like there's permission with Funboy.
Yeah.
Funboy...
I guess, I want you dead either way. So, if you want to do it yourself, I'll accept that.
I think it's along those lines. It's very much, he repents everything. He says he can't believe what he was like and things like that. So, I mean, it's methodical. the way he kills them in the comic books. It's not just like in the film where it feels a bit happenstance. He's just, oh, they're there now, let's do it. This is very kind of it's vengeance, methodically done, stalking them, killing them. And when he's not doing that, he's in the house he shared with Shelley, and he's lost in the memories of her, and her absence is torture for him. He's in emotional pain. He's even self-mutilating. He's cutting himself because of the pain of this. And the crow it's there. It keeps telling him not to look and things like that. It's giving him information that helps him in his quest, but it's chastising him whenever he dwells on Shelley's death. Basically, it sees his pining as useless self-indulgence that distracts him from his purpose. So, it's a very different way of telling the story. I mean, it is ultra-violent, and I mean ultra-violent. One of the biggest images that sticks in my head is this the crow character with a mohawk, a mullet. Sorry, he's got a mullet. He's got a black mullet. And he's very, very skinny, but and James O'Barr admits that he hated the fact that other comic books made people out of proportion. He looked at Michelangelo's David and things like that for inspiration for when he drew Eric. So it was more of a real person look, and it gave it that grime quality. But anyway, the main image I see is the crow with this mullet, covered in weapons, just literally everything hanging off him. He's just covered in guns. It's like a scene you'd expect in like an action movie. You expect Arnold Schwarzenegger to be walking in with 30 weapons on him, but it's not. It's this everyday man, kind of thing. But he's gone over the edge completely. So, but there was also a soundtrack for the comic, which was done by it was called Fear and Bullets by Trusto Bay. Which came out in 94, and then it was remixed in 99 and re-released as well. And you could get a book version of it where it came with the actual comic graphic novel and things. I really enjoyed some of that music, and yes, I can see how it relates to the comic book, but it does also show you how different the comic book is from the film. And when I met James O'Barr a couple of years back, he was telling me that it was all of this came from the pain of losing Beverly. And so it's a whole different. This isn't like your ordinary story. This is pain. This is the pain of absence written into various different formats by different people, all inspired by James O'Barr. I mean, wow.
That's it. It's interesting to see, or to be aware of, the differences between, I guess, the author's original intent as well as inspiration versus what, adaptations do. And I think if this would have just been his trauma dumping the movie, it would have been hard to sell.
No, but there's a certain amount of artistry that's been put in, isn't there? I mean, even in the original comic books, he's transferred everything, all of his pain into this one character kind of thing.
It's kind of, I guess, revenge fantasy. If he could do these kind of things to the people or the person who took Beverly, but obviously doing it in a fictional way, in a more creative manner, is a lot more legally acceptable, at least.
Well, there's that.
But also the catharsis of that would have helped him get through it as well.
I agree completely.
Positive.
One of the things he did say, and I'm kind of glad for him in this respect, he kept the rights to his work. So he could say when, what, who, and it meant that he managed to maintain a certain hold on certain things. However, I don't know how that fits with the sequels.
Well, yes, I think we'll sort of segue into that very, very briefly. Because obviously you've watched the ones just because you were watching this. You were like, well, let's remember how bad they were.
Yes.
but I haven't said that you have to join me for those. I'm going to do those myself. I'm probably going to combine 3 and 4 because I want to do something special on the Friday just before Halloween.
Okay. I don't blame you either.
But, sorry?
Although I'd say 3's better than 2.
Which one's the one with Eddie Furlong?
That's 3.
That's 3. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll see how they are when I get to them.
Okay, fair enough.
But obviously we talked about the Momoa and the constant. There's going to be a remake at some point, and it's changed hands and stuff. And now we've got, who was it? I think
Bill Skarsgård, isn't it?
Bill Skarsgård, that's it. Pennywise from it, as well as other things, of course.
I think that could work.
Who's got the physique? Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a fan film that you sent a link to.
Yeah.
It's actually out. It's on my list. I'm going to watch it. It probably won't be included as the month. That's not the special thing for the end. But maybe down the line, if people are interested, I might have a look at that and talk about it. Because it seems faithful, but it is a low budget.
Yeah.
And that comes with a lot of issues. But I respect anyone who's kind of like, I really want to see my version of this work that I've loved. It'll be interesting to see a different take, because it does look like it hews a lot closer to this dark, sort of not mean-spirited, but I guess almost that.
No, yeah.
The original source, So I will see what I think, and like I say, maybe give my thoughts at some point down the line.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think there's anything else about this I've got on my notes that I need to say then about.
There is only one other thing I'd like to mention, and I know you're not going to cover it, is Stairway to Heaven, the series.
Well, I may do down the line. Not as part of the month, but yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I kind of liked the premise, but by the same token, they took it too far, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I always loved Mike Dacascos. I think he's one of those underused actors who can fight.
No,
I don't think he's a person who just fights who can act. I think he's an actor who can fight. That's a clear delineation. Like
yes.
Was an actor who can fight. I think his father was a fighter who could act. Bruce was a bit.
Yes, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Not the greatest actor, but a great fighter.
Yeah.
But Jackie Chan, I think he's right in the middle. But with Mark Dacascos, I think he wasn't given the material
to work.
He should have.
Yeah.
I think he could have made better material work so much better. And I've not watched the series again recently. It is available to me, and I will watch it at least, even if I don't talk about it. But my memories of it are not like, oh, that was amazing and super fond memories. But I don't remember hating it quite so much as some of the sequels of the film. So
yes, okay, fair point. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even bother watching Wicked Prayer again. I just couldn't do it.
I'm gonna, because I'm a masochist.
Even though David Boreanaz is in it, I just couldn't do it. It is interesting to note that Rob Zombie is featured on the soundtrack of 1, 2, 3, at least half the Crow stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
So it feels right that he should have maybe tried to make one, but at the same time, no.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah. No, it's been an interesting journey. I mean, is there anything else aside from the sequels that you want to say?
Just to wish you luck watching through all those.
Yeah, I think I'll need it. Thanks. Given everything else I've got going on at the moment, I really need that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, a great piece of art that's been translated in so many different ways. It's obviously had an impact on people because it's inspired so much other things. Soundtracks.
Exactly me wanting to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, right up to there, and I think it deserves more attention in the future, and I hope this reboot works really well.
Yeah, I hope it brings more attention to the source material, to this.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to everything that's happened in between this and the remake.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping we keep the vibe of the first film, but more of the comic. And that's what I would like.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of more dark and gritty, because audiences are more willing to accept that.
Yeah.
But some of the levity from this, I think, a good marriage of the two.
Agreed.
Sides of it.
But yeah, that's our thoughts on The Crow. And like I said,
I'm going to suffer through the rest for my art. And I just want to once again thank James for appearing here. Where can we find you locally and not so locally.
Olive Studios UK on Instagram, and every Thursday at the Thistlebury pub in Newcastle under Lyme. Every Friday I'm there as well doing karaoke.
There you go. And yes, once again, a pleasure. Thanks for having this chat with me. And until next time, it can't rain all the time.
Ooh.
Right now, what's going on in the film, with the scenes that we're filming today? And can you sort of describe where it comes in the film and what it means?
Well, it means I'm wearing a bulletproof vest right now. And I just got shot 20 times. And I've worn squibs before, and I've gotten shot before, but I must say I have never been shot 20 times at once before, which is an experience I think everyone should have.
Is it an acting challenge that you would recommend for every actor?
It's an NAR day. It's a definite no acting required day when you get shot 20 times.
Reactions come pretty naturally?
Yeah, Alex Proyas should actually come out for you because he does the Proyas shuffle the best, which is the, when you get shot 20 times.